like a lot of winemakers, you know, the natural trajectory is you go to Davis, you go to Fresno, you work in a cellar, you work, you know, abroad a few years, you put a resume together. I definitely didn't do that. I went to a liberal arts school. I studied anything without chemistry. And, you know, I was lucky enough to live in Australia and continue playing lacrosse, which I played in college. And that was a fun kind of like walkabout year. And then I moved to India, where, you know, my dad has been involved in a project for a long time. And I was able to do some of the more of the business side of the wine business. So I was doing importing and exporting with spirits and beers and wine. And I thought that that was kind of the direction I really wanted my, you know, future to go. And when you grow up in Geyserville, California, you want to get as far away as you humanly can. And when you literally get to the other side of the world and you realize how wonderful Geyserville is. So I trickled back. I got my MBA at Sonoma State for wine business, again, thinking I wanted to do this more global, international side of the wine business. And when I started working for a PR marketing firm, I decided, you know, I really wanted to work directly with a specific brand. So I went and started doing brand management for a specific brand. And, you know, the whole time my folks and myself had this brand called Paul Mary. And they have always, you know, offered it, you know, ever since I was a kid, that, you know, this is something, if you want it to be there for you, it can be there. And so I decided it was kind of the right time to join the family business, more on the branded side for Paul Mary, doing, you know, kind of sales and marketing work. And my parents were always kind of saying, well, you know, Drew, here's the deal, like, you're obviously very good at marketing and sales, and that's an important skill set to have. You know, if you really want Paul Mary to be truly yours long term, maybe you want to apprentice under your dad for, you know, a few years. So I thought that made a lot of sense. And it sounded kind of fun. So, you know, I spent a few years, you know, kind of following my dad around, you know, zipped my lips and, you know, opened my ears and tried to glean as much as I could. And once I had a better understanding of kind of the mechanics of winemaking and vineyards, and I started inputting little bits of information and, you know, getting, you know, my dad as a sounding board and my mom as, you know, kind of a really wonderful support structure that was, you know, pushing me to kind of excel and focus in on what I might want to do. And then I've been extremely lucky that some people maybe saw drive, passion. So, you know, I started working for a gentleman named Ted Elliott, and he's, you know, he was kind of a legend of Chardonnay and Pinot in California. Of course, he, you know, planted Carmenet back in the day, and which is now Repris up in Moon Mountain, and then he rolled that into Chalone Wine Group, and he also, you know, was one of the founders of Sonoma-Cutrer, and he took, you know, he was extremely generous with his knowledge and passion of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and, you know, of course, kind of with, you know, my dad in the background, I was able to start making some more decisions on the winemaking side and the vineyard sourcing side. And Ted also, he had incredible vineyard sourcing, so it was really one of the first times I got to work with top tier vineyards and growers, and you know, I got some early success there. There's a big you know, competition called Pigs and Pinot here in Sonoma County, and of course it's the top Pinot winemakers, and it's run by a guy named Daryl Groom. And I think I would email him like, "Hi Daryl, my name is Drew Damskey. I would like to submit some of my Pinot Noir to you." And I didn't hear anything back for like 3 emails, but I'm a bit of an ankle biter. So I kept emailing him, and I think he just wanted to get me to stop emailing him. So he let me submit some of the wines, and we ended up winning the whole thing. And that was pretty, that was pretty impressive and fun. And I think that put some people on notice. And so one of the judges there was the winemaker, or not the winemaker, but the writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, named Esther Mobley. And so she named me as one of the winemakers to watch a number of years ago, and that kind of gave me a little bit of, you know, extra credibility from, you know, outside, you know, news outlets that, you know, didn't have any skin in, you know, in the game to help me out. And anyway, so that's kind of how my consulting career slowly developed. But of course, you know, my dad maintains, you know, kind of as a ongoing sounding board for myself and cellar decisions. And I think what's nice is that he approaches wines differently than I do, in the sense that he's a technically trained Davis guy. He knows about, you know, exactly the relationship between pH and this and that, and where I guess I'm a little bit more gut feel and more textural based. And I think, you know, him as kind of a backstop, myself as somebody who's really focused on pushing the envelope and making sure that we're always, you know, doing as many experiments as we can, continuing not to kind of rest on any sort of sacred cows. And I think it's really fun to be able to work with him and work with my mom and push the envelope in terms of our own, you know, our own brands, and then also some of our clients in terms of what they're trying to achieve, what levers we have to pull, and so far it's been a pretty successful venture.